Hey guys, welcome back to Asset Coach and Tax Strategist. And I have some exciting news. You guys have done it. You guys have reached us over that 100 subscriber mark. And like I've said, this has been a lot of fun for me to be able to jump on here and just kind of share my opinion as a business owner, and utilizing articles and current events and trying to figure out to read between the lines and figure out what's being told to us, but what is reality. And so as a thank you, I've been spending tons of time for the last few months with my team and developing and focusing on what should we be providing, not as just as an organization, but to you on this channel. And so it was a resounding pour more into subscribers, pour more into YouTube, give more of me, give more of us as an organization to you, to help you understand what possibilities are out there. Why am I able to read between the lines of current event articles and see what they're actually talking about? What 20 plus years, 2 decades of information and studying and research and developing my own between the ears and business for business owners, for you, for taxpayers, really. We all benefit from the information, the knowledge that has evolved into this expertise. Now, there's a lot of great YouTube channels. I could probably spend an entire episode going through the YouTube channels I use to fill me up, to improve my between the ears. And there's just a lot of content. So, but what I want to do now is I want to pour into you. I want to shift and focus on, yeah, we're going to go through articles, but these articles are going to be more purposeful and meaningful to support the information, the content that we're providing. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take what we do for our clients and we're going to break that down. We have memberships and we have courses and we have all this stuff that I've built over the 2 decades of knowledge and thousands of books I've read. For example, I just got done reading Darren Hardy's book, The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster. Great book. I read his book before this, The Compound Effect. He does a fantastic job. He owns and was editor of Success Magazine. Just a phenomenal mind for us business owners. And so thousands of books like this just pouring into to me to be able to pour into you. Books on finance. So not just taxes, not just insurance, what type of insurance, cash value insurance, what's that look like? Annuities, does it make sense? Investments, retirement accounts, what are those? How do those look like? What do those benefit me? And business and business entity structuring and why a business and how's the IRS communicate to us and family businesses and generational legacies. And I mean, I can go on and on and on and on, and I won't. But all this information over the years is compounded into what we provide to our members. And I'm going to pour that into you. I'm going to take you through the processes. We're going to dive into the weeds on certain things. And then some things we're just going to pull back out and say, whoa, 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 that was too much. Let's back up. Let's start back with the basics. Let's go to class 101 and start developing the basics of what we're talking about. And there's going to be times where I'm going to talk to you and give you content where I'm going to apologize right now. I'm not talking down to you. I'm not talking over you. I want to talk to you. And so if I say something that you may already know, and you're like, Bob, that's basic. That's great. There's hundreds, if not thousands of subscribers and viewers that aren't going to know that. So it'll be good affirmation for you. But then there's going to be things that I'm going to talk about and you're going to go, whoa, 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 time out. We got to rewind this. What the heck? Those are questions and comments you put into the comment box, and give me feedback onto how do I need to dive into things or pour back from things as well. So today's episode is just kind of give you an update of, wow, where are we shifting to? And so let me spend some time talking about all of this. I've talked about, 2 decades and thousands of books and creating this expertise. This all stemmed from really when I had a paper route in junior high. I had basically where I lived in Orange County, California, I had an entire neighborhood. Basically, when I started paper route in junior high, there was 4 of us that were running routes. And eventually they all went into high school and I continued, and I had the entire neighborhood. On a Sunday, I had close to 500 600 newspapers that I delivered Sunday morning to the neighborhood. I made, as a junior hire, I made $400-500 a month. Today, that doesn't sound like a much, but back then that was a ton, especially for a junior hire. But I learned what I desired. And at the time, remember the old times in newspapers, first of all, what the heck is that, right? So if you understand what I just said, you're old like me. But I had a newspaper, and when I would put the newspapers together after they delivered them at our doorstep, I would look at the business section, and that was when they had all the stock quotes and stuff printed in the newspaper. I had no idea what I was looking at, but it intrigued me and interested me. And that was the first seed that was planted. And then as I graduated high school, I started becoming more in tune to building my personal development and understanding who I wanted to be. I got involved a little bit with direct sales and understanding that. I got involved in some training programs, which really reinforced build between the ears, build yourself, and never stand still. I'll constantly be moving forward. And so that was, thank God, that was the basis that I got. And so all of a sudden, was working a great job, was doing computer aided drafting for a small mom and pop shelving company. In economic standards, small. In my standards, they were huge, and we did tons. And I think, at the time they were doing 10-12 million a year. I don't know. I was in the engineering department. I was doing computer drafting. I was doing shop drawings. I was doing layouts for our clients. And it was a lot of fun, but it wasn't what was tugged on me. It wasn't that seed that was planted. And that seed that was planted was, I want to get in finance. I'm working behind a computer. I'm enjoying it. But I want to work with people and I want to work with finance. And so that's when I decided I was going to go into financial planning. And I didn't have a degree at the time. So a lot of the companies, the large wirehouses, broker dealers required a 4-year degree. And so I ended up going the route of Edward Jones. They didn't require it, and went through the process, got hired, went through the training after I got licensed, my Series 7, 63, and life insurance license, and went through that process. And just kind of give you an idea of what trust looks like, especially as a business owner, you'll understand this. This was my first experience of, oh my goodness, we got to trust. When I was working for that company, that private company, and I gave my 2-week notice, that first week of my 2-week notice, I came home, and my wife and I had been married for 2.5 years at the time. And I came home one night and she said, we're pregnant with our first child. And I was elated. I was so excited. That child now is 22 years old. And I'm just so elated, but I was like, ooh, I'm going to an all commission job. You have a salary. I'm walking away from a salary. What's this look like? Not a big deal. Prayed about it. Just excited. Week 2, 9/11. And sitting there at home, went to the office where we had worked and lived, was really in close complexity of each other. Wow, sitting there in the office with our coworkers and watching the news, and the owner's daughter walked by and said, you know what, Bob, we love having you. If you want to stay, stay. Because she knew, they knew I was going into the finance world. And we just had this experience as a country. I'm having this experience as an individual, now a young father to be, still somewhat a newlywed, me, being married 2.5, 3 years. And wow, starting my career. And this is what happened. But trusting God, said, hey, God, in my immature mind, I said, if this is the bottom, it can only go up from here. Right? Not understanding that there's economic cycles, not understanding that politicians can make decisions that can affect us, and not understanding everything I've experienced and learned over the last 2 decades. But in a young, immature, wide-eyed, excited young man who wanted to do and follow his dream. And that started because I read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Loved the book on talking about the basics of money and the difference of mindset, that the mindset of rich dad versus poor dad. Not one was better than the other, but just the different mindset. And so I bought his second book, Cash Flow Quadrant. And that's what said, Bob, go to your dreams, follow your dreams. Cash flow quadrant was phenomenal. Loved it. A lot of our planning uses the basis of that. So anyways, so that was really the start. And so I learned pretty quickly that the Edward Jones model wasn't for me. So I went to in a small little recruiting shop, meaning that what they do is they do group interviews, they recruit you, they get you licensed and all this kind of stuff, and then they train you their way. And so I was already licensed. They trained me their way. I was doing what I was doing, and I learned about I made, rookie of the year. I made trip, and I did well. I was interviewing and starting to build my own team in the managerial path, but I realized I wanted to work with business owners. But I had this insecurity about working with business owners. German background, my dad and grandfather on my dad's side, with his dad, but my grandfather on my dad's side, business owners, German. The old adage is that the only way German's gonna smile is if they have a beer stein in their hand, right? So anyways, but in my immature mind, I had an insecurity about business owners. What do they say? When you have a fear, hit it face on, go towards it. Right. I know, forget his name, not Ryan Holiday. Maybe it is Ryan Holiday. One of the things he says, the obstacle is the way. Go towards the obstacle. That's what's going to grow you. That's what's going to create that desire that you seek, is going into that obstacle. And so that's what I did. I went into insurance. But Bob, you already had your insurance license. No, I went into property and casualty insurance for businesses to learn how to speak with business owners, to learn business owners, to hit that and fight that fear, go towards the obstacle. And man, I had a blast. I learned really quickly in the first few weeks, that few months. I was immature. Business owners were awesome and just really thoroughly enjoyed it. But this wasn't my dream area of business, was property and casualty. I found really quickly that it wasn't going to be a career for me, just for a whole host of reasons we won't go on here. But I realized that I learned my lesson. I made company trip. I've doubled my book of business. I was very good and successful, but I learned a few things. And so I started to go and ended up having an opportunity to work with doctors and in disability life insurance in a company in LA. And I was with them for 9 years. And that's really where my focus of understanding about taxes, tax planning, the value of understanding planning and tax planning and assets. That was the foundation. And when I left them in end of 2015 to beginning my business in 2016, my goal and focus was I want to teach business owners, and I want to help business owners. I want to help physicians. I want to help high taxpayers understand how to basically reduce their tax liability, but understand that you can't grow wealth without reducing taxes. At some point, the tax man is going to deteriorate your wealth. And so that's where my book, Economic Termites, came into play, and understanding that economically we have termites, taxes, inflation, time, laws, and regulations, meaning politicians, that's the queen termite, and then debt. Debt's not in my book. But those 5 things were real, like, okay, if we're not planning for these, if we're not managing these, if we don't understand these, then we're not going to build wealth. We're going to build short-term wealth, but it eventually will deteriorate because of these termites. And they use termites because we know what termites are. We know when we have termite damage, the damage has already been done. And so that's where the title of Asset Coach and Tax Strategist evolved. It was born out of, what do I do? Because I was meeting with people and networking and various aspects, and I would tell people what I do, and they're like, "Oh, you're a financial planner." No, I'm not really a financial planner. Oh, you're a tax guy. No, I'm not really a tax guy either. I was taking a step back and being more holistic. Well, everyone's talking about riches are in the niches. Go learn the one thing, go be a sniper. And I started following that. I'm like, hang on a second. I've got all this expertise and knowledge that I've been building over the years. Why in the world am I not being holistic? And that is my niche. My niche is holistic. My niche is, we're going to take more of a shotgun approach, because I found that a lot of the connections from my retirement account to taxes, to insurance, to my business, to real estate, a lot of business or a lot of taxpayers don't know the connection. And I found a lot of advisors didn't know the connections to it. So I'm like, man, what if I become the connection? They always talk about be the quarterback on a team. No, no, no. What if I'm the coach? What if I'm working with the owner and I'm developing the team on the field? And so that's really where I started focusing on, was being more holistic. And that's where asset coach and tax strategist. What is an asset? Robert Kiyosaki's definition of an asset is the best clear understanding of an asset is something that creates or appreciates in value and creates eventually income. Why income? Well, you could sell a piece of property or you can sell a business and it creates capital gains. That's a form of income that the IRS taxes. It can create ongoing wages or profits that become taxable as income in different ways. And so that's when I started understanding, okay, I'm going to coach people's assets, help them understand the assets they have, because I was always taught to replace assets because, right, you got to earn a commission, you got to transact to make money in the finance world, or you're a nonprofit, and you know what happens to nonprofits. And so, and I didn't want to work for the U.S. Postal Service. So I ended up figuring out, okay, if I help people with their existing assets, explain what they have, talk about how the good consequences and the bad consequences of these assets are, and what do they need to do? How do they need to organize this, and what additional assets do they need to add to this to create a tax strategy or tax outcome, a lower tax liability outcome? Because if assets are what appreciate and grow in value and create income, and the IRS taxes income, then it doesn't make sense for me to focus on the taxes if I don't focus on the assets, right? It's the taxes are a result of the decisions we make in our assets. Boom, light bulb. So asset coach and tax strategist became it. And so it's in that order. It's not tax strategist and asset coach. It's asset coach. Because so what's a coach? A coach is someone who mentors, who trains, who teaches, who encourages, who helps, who does everything they possibly can to pour into you, which is what we're doing right now. Right. And so we know what taxes are. Right. And then, of course, what's a strategist? Somebody who's strategic, someone who's looking at things and coming up with ways to create an outcome that's different than what you had before. But you can only do that with the assets that you're coaching and working on or adding to. And so that's really everything came around that. And so that's what an asset coach and a tax strategist. That's why this channel is called Asset Coach and Tax Strategist. And so that's what we're going to pour into. And what's all of that look like? And so now here we are, Terra Firma Business and Financial Consultants. We have an ecosystem of businesses based on strategies that we provide to our members. We have a membership organization because on an ongoing basis, I found that my clients that I didn't have an ongoing relationship with, whenever they called or they didn't take my call because they thought I was going to sell them something, because that was the experience that they had, not just with me in that first experience where we created that initial transaction, but experiences they had previous to me. And so I didn't want that. I wanted a relationship, a partnership that my job, you're hiring me to help you grow your wealth and reduce your tax liability. There's fraternal twins. You cannot have one without the other. You can't reduce taxes without having wealth and assets. The more assets, the more income you have, the more of the tax code you have access to. So that adage of the wealthy get rich, wealthier, it's true because they have more. So they have more of the tax code available to them. So they have more strategies, which means they have more of the law available to them. So they can, take better advantage of what's out there. The less you have, not a whole lot of decisions you can make. And that's just basic common sense, but it wasn't when it came to taxes. So I had people who were, making minimum wage complaining about taxes, and I had multimillionaires, successful business owners complaining about taxes. And I'm like, whoa, what's connecting these two? And that is the business of taxation. That's the business of government and how they create taxes. And so anyway, so that is my background. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to pour into you. We're going to go through the very basics of what the cash flow recovery is. What is that? We're going to dive into assets and liability and the importance of understanding that, the importance of understanding a financial statement and cash flow, the importance of understanding that what promissory notes and how to use debt to help you build your assets, how you can use existing assets to help build assets and create your own asset duplication system, which I call the asset buddy system. So rather than creating silos of assets, I'm only a real estate person, or I only believe in this, or I only believe in that, which is a lot of what our industry does, which is true, but you will eventually have taxation that you don't want to have. And because we have real estate professionals that seek our advice for tax savings, we have people who financial advisors, we have attorneys, we have CPAs, we have doctors, chiropractors, you name it. Why? Because the tax code links them all together. That's the common denominator. So how do you understand how to reduce that liabilities? Understand your assets. So if I'm a real estate guy, I love real estate. Great. You know the rules to real estate, which is why you're investing in real estate, but you will not be able to outrun the tax man all the way up until death, and hopefully into estate planning and perpetuity with your heirs. So tax strategies is about deferring taxes using laws, using current laws, written guidelines. We're not creating loopholes. We're not lying, cheating, and deceiving. No, we are partnering with the IRS. We're partnering with what is there already, guidelines, and utilizing that stuff. So that is important to understand, and how to create that outcome. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to dive into it. We're going to go through real estate. We're going to go through cash flow value life insurance. We're going to, yeah, you may, oh, I love Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman. Fantastic. But as a business owner, as a taxpayer who doesn't like taxes, they're actually not providing the right advice to you. Now, to the general public, great advice. If I'm earning minimum wage, or I'm trying to get a good start, or I'm an employee that really doesn't have a lot of growth aspects, that doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. That's the life you're choosing. Then yeah, Dave Ramsey, Susie Orman may be ideal. Their advice they give is perfect. But if you're somebody who wants to thrive and excel and grow your wealth and build a business and continue to strive to have a better life than you did the day before, then yeah, Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey aren't going to be the people you're going to go after. They're not going to be your advice. There's some core things they provide that can translate into any area. But what you need is somebody like an asset coach and tax strategist to understand how to use promissory notes and debt, how to use debt to build wealth, how to use cash value life insurance as an asset, how to use your retirement accounts, and when your retirement accounts should be in the tax planning strategies, and so on and so forth. A lot of advisors are cart before the horse. They're setting up something that's not valuable to you as a business owner, because as a business owner, you need capital. And what they just did as a strategy tied up capital. And so we're going to talk about all that. So as you can tell, I could probably just keep going and going and just make this a 5-hour master class. But I just wanted to dive into, explain some of the exciting changes and enhancements, really not changes, but enhancements to what we're going to do. We're going to dive into, I said we're going to read between the lines and go through articles. We're going to dive into between the lines of between the lines. So you get in access into my brain to understand why we're talking about what we're talking about. Now, that doesn't mean that what I'm saying is better than somebody else. No. What I'm saying is that this is content, this is information, this is education to help you do your due diligence to understand what steps you want to take. If you don't know how to connect the dots, you don't know how to take that next step, great. Then that's when you could reach out to us or somebody like us, another professional or whatever, and take those steps. Okay. But that's the whole point of these channels, is to feed you information, content. And what we're doing is providing productive solutions that help you, not to drive a wedge between you and another group of people, not to drive a wedge between your ideologies and your beliefs, but to help enhance the basics of how the government, the rules work, and how to build wealth and reduce tax liability. Plain and simple. So, hey, if this is exciting to you and you want to join me on this journey, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Hit that subscribe button. We drop every Thursday. And we may end up, based on this information, we may end up dropping bonus content. And so if you're just not going to subscribe and you're just going to put a reminder, oh, I want to look at Asset Coach Tax Strategist on Thursday, on Friday, whatever, you're going to miss our bonus content. So we may drop on other days bonus content that we're like, this needs to get out there. This is exciting, right? And so I want to make sure if you subscribe, you're going to get notified. Okay. And as this builds and our subscribership builds as a reflection of the information we're providing, we're not driving subscribers. Subscribers are going to drive to us because we're feeding and pouring into them. And as this channel expands and grows in more and more subscribers, we'll be able to provide more and more through the YouTube avenue and channel. But we'll put as much as we can in the description to help you and to take steps that you need to take to move forward. But other than that, thanks so much for being a subscriber or a potential subscriber. If you like this content, you got to give thumbs up. These are very important. Adding comments, very important to helping us understand that we're doing the right thing. You stay the silent majority, I won't know. I'm just kind of walking around blindly, running into walls, figuring out what to do and what direction to go. I know what I want to do, but I'm in my head sometimes too much. But I want to be in your head. I want to provide and feed you in your head. So add comments and give us thumbs ups. All right. So thanks so much. Have a blessed day. Take care.